Good evening. This is another edition of Now and Then. I want to talk to you about the certainty of uncertainty. Uh, it seems as though that there always come a time in man's life and history that there is so much uncertainty. But I want you to understand that in Donald Trump's realm, this is the way that he operates. This is his way of getting things done by creating so much chaos that it seems as though only he can control what goes to the left or what goes to the right. And in his first presidency, we saw that he was impeached twice because of his way of operating, doing things just because he wants to do it without any regard to law or constitution or whatever. And now that he has been re-elected as president, he has more ammunition now. He know uh, how to elect his cabinet members now. Those that will not say anything against him, those that will not uh, buck him, and so he has full range. And then he has the House, and he also has the Senate. And so he believes now that he can create all of the chaos, all of the uncertainty, and then make it work for him. And so look at the tariffs. Let's just go down the list. There's about eight things that I want to just give a pin on, and then the message is yours. Listen, the tariffs. He came up with this concept of creating and imposing tariffs on the whole world, creating all kinds of chaos just by imposing the tariffs, but then also the chaoticness of his tariff comes because you will never know what tariffs he's going to impose next, how much the percentage of the tariff he is going to impose next, what he's going to do. His negotiators are out there trying to negotiate with these countries, but they don't know. They have to come back to him, and everyone is simply saying it's the president, it's Donald Trump. It is the art of his deal, and so that is creating such an uncertainty in not only the United States of America but the whole world. How about the war between Russia and Ukraine? Uncertainty. He says that he was going to end the war on day one. But President Putin is proving to be a little bit more unreliable than Donald Trump is. And as a result of that, they have also said they're going to walk away from it, and just let them fight. Well, that's really what Putin wants. He wants the United States to walk away. And then I heard also that two countries in Europe wanted to get involved in and help Ukraine, but they needed the air support or the defense air of the United States, and President Trump said no. So that did not happen. They wanted to impose sanctions on Russia in order to get Putin to the table to act, from a standpoint of ending the war. And President Trump said that is not going to happen. So he is standing on the sideline trying to still make a deal, business deals with Putin, and he has already made mineral right deals with Ukraine, and so now he's just standing there waiting. But the war has not ended on day one. Certainty of uncertainty. How about the war in Israel with the Palestinians? Totally killing, just massacring, annihilating, bombing everything in sight. Now in the United Nations, countries one by one are stepping up now and voicing their concern about the humanitarian issue that is happening in Gaza. I don't understand why it took them so long, as well as the world, to see that what uh, Netanyahu is doing, what Israel is doing, is just inhumane. I don't understand why it took them so long to now stand up and all of a sudden saying to Israel, you need to stop. After so many thousands have been killed, children, grandparents, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters has been just killed. Food, starvation. Who would allow someone to deliberately starve a child? That's world inhumane. But yet and still, the whole world stood by and allowed Israel to do that. And thank God now they're beginning to just talk about it and say you need to stop. But the question is, when are you going to put actions uh, in place of your words? And you can't depend on President Trump because he's not going to do anything. That's the one that's going to stop it in day one. Putin don't respect him because day one that didn't happen. And then Netanyahu does not respect him because on day one that did not happen and they are still doing it. They are doing things now in both walls and are not even telling the president of the United States what they're going to do before they do it. That is very disrespectful. How about the treaties with all these countries? Was that April 2nd when he put uh, that those treaties or those tariffs on all of these countries, Liberation Day. Now all of these countries are supposed to come and bow down to him. And how about all of that? Where are they? You know, they can't really make a decision concerning their GDP, their country's welfare, because they don't know what the president of the United States, number one, wants or what he is going to accept or what he is going to do. In his first presidency, he had himself negotiated an agreement with Canada and Mexico. Now, in this second presidency, he tore all of that out. He said they are still taking advantage of us. Well, if they are taking advantage of us, that's a treaty that you signed, that you formulated yourself. Chaos, uncertainty. And that's the way he is dealing with that. Even with China. China has so much to offer to provide for the United States. It has to be reciprocal. You give us what we need and we provide what you need. But President Trump says, no, you just give us what we need and then we decide what to give you. Now that's negotiation there. That's the art of the deal. China say no, it's not going to work like that. So tariffs and the treaties uncertain. Just don't know what's happening with that. How about the big beautiful bill? How about that? The big beautiful bill. That's that Project 25. That's that hinge pin. of his whole presidency is hinging, building, or based on this big, beautiful bill. Everything under the sun that Donald Trump wanted to do in his first presidency and in this presidency is hinged in this big, beautiful bill. And then the House passed it out simply by one vote. And then now we hear that some of the representatives, Republican representatives, did not even read the whole bill. But now they are talking as though something is so wrong, and they need to just acknowledge that they did not read the whole bill. Well, when you were trying to get everybody to vote, you act as though you read the whole bill. Now all of a sudden you have a problem, and then it's over into the Senate hands, and they are fighting tooth and nails as to what they are going to do with this big, beautiful bill. And Donald Trump is trying his best to get this big, beautiful bill passed. This big, beautiful bill is going to raise taxes on the American people. Why? Because the foreign countries does not pay for the tax or the tariffs. The uh, companies that are bringing the items in, the merchandise in on those ships, before those ships can be unloaded into the United States, those companies in the United States has to pay the tariffs, not the countries that they're coming from, but the companies where they're going. You ordered it, and so now you pay for it. It just so happened that now it's a 30% more tax on it before you can unload it. And then the companies now has to decide whether they're going to eat that cost or pass that cost on to the consumer. So that 2.5, $2.6 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion that they're going to realize from the tariffs, that's a tax that's coming from you. You are helping to fund this big, beautiful bill that is going to cut the taxes for millionaires. They're going to take it from you and give it to million, billion. Chaos, totally uncertainty. How about Elon Musk and Donald Trump? That's the art of total uncertainty. That's certainty at its best to be uncertain. Because everyone knew no one is going to be able to have that type of relationship with Donald Trump without one day Donald Trump wanting to be superior. That's his MO. But now he's doing it with the richest man in the world. And so, how that's going to work, I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. I just know that it makes the United States look more and more chaotic. This is the uh, brightest light on the mountain that's looking like a third world country because of the things that we are doing in the government. In the government. How about the stock market? Not too many presidents will come forth and make statements knowing that these statements is going to influence the stock market one way or the other. Most presidents are very leery of that. They are very conscious of the decisions or the statements that they make because they know the influence of those statements. Donald Trump uses those statements to influence the stock market. And there are people around him that know what he's going to say before he says it and know how that is going to influence the stock market. This is corruption at its best. And he's doing it because the companies or families just don't know what to do now because they don't know what's going to come next. This is so uncertain in the way that we plan our lives and the way we live our lives. Nothing is the same anymore. We have to now change our habits, change the way we do things, change what we buy, change even the vacations that we take because everything is so uncertain now. The stock market, those that are investing and those that are planning for retirement with 401ks or whatever your retirement plan is that's involved in that stock market. You can't really plan for that. And if you're planning on retiring next year or something within the next 3 years, well, really, you can't say next 3 years because the next president that comes in has to now undo all of this stuff that Donald Trump and his administration is doing. Remember when Biden first came and was president, he had a he had so much stuff that he had to undo and get the country back to where it is because of all of the stuff that Donald Trump had done. And most of it was relating to COVID. And so now the Republicans come up and say that the Democrats and Joe Biden spend all of this money and raise the debt ceiling and have so much now that we have to pay and our children have to pay. He did that trying to undo or correct or get the United States back on a solid footing from what Donald Trump had done. And now the next president come in is going to have a harder time than that because of all of the stuff that Donald Trump is doing. And it's so ironic that we hear uh, budget people, people that talk about spending money, stand up and criticize the Democrats for what they say they did. And then you are now voting on a big, beautiful bill that is going to add trillions of dollars to the deficit. In fact, right now, our GDP is 30 trillion. Just the interest alone, just the interest alone of the debt that we already have is $7 trillion more than 30 trillion. That's 37 trillion. And they are trying to raise that. And you talk about spending money. Okay, stock market. How about the remainder of his presidency? Well, has it been 150 days? Can you imagine what he has already done within 150 days? He is constantly signing executive orders, seldom going through Congress. He has the Senate and he has the House. The only reason why he is sending this big, beautiful bill through the House is because he cannot sign an executive order for this big, beautiful bill. If he could do that, he wouldn't even worry about Congress passing his big, beautiful bill. Anything that he can get done with an executive order, he will do it. Now, you have to understand one thing about executive orders. The next president that comes in can tear all of that out. Just wipe all of that away. Just get rid of all of those executive orders. But something that has gone through Congress It takes Congress to change all of that. Now, I say that because President Trump, even though it takes Congress to change some things that are already happening, he is changing those things with executive orders and not going through Congress. And guess what Congress is saying about it? Nothing. And that's why you have all of these lawsuits that is going against the executive orders that he is imposing, because the lawsuits are saying you do not have the authority to do it. Certainty of uncertainty. It simply means that you can be certain about one thing. In Donald Trump's administration, it will be uncertain. You will not know what's coming next. And he has just gotten started. So for the next 3.5 years, you're going to have yourself a hard time in the United States of America. And I can say in the United States, but throughout the world, if they don't stand up and challenge him, or if the citizens of the United States don't stand up and challenge him, because we have something called midterm election, which would be November 2026. And if you are uncertain, unsure, or don't like what's happening right now in this presidency, get ready for November of next year, because you have the power, you have the right, you have the vote to change it. Congress won't do it. House won't do it. Senate won't do it. Cabinet won't do it. Certainly, the president won't do it. Elon Musk is talking about it now, but you have to understand what he's talking about. He's not talking about adding, not getting rid of Medicare, Medicaid, or not cutting stamps. He's not talking about that. He's just upset with Donald Trump because of what some stuff Donald Trump did. And he says, yes, this big, beautiful bill is going to add more to the deficit, which is true. But that's not the underlying reason. And you have to be able to see the certainty of what he is talking about or what everyone else is talking about. This is Clarence Williams. This is now. And this is then. Have yourself a great day.